Hi, welcome to Coach Talk. You're back again with myself, Fahima Mahomed, with another guest. And this time I'm going to be talking to you with regards to your future career. I know with this lockdown, a lot of us are pretty much uncertain about going back to work, and especially not even knowing if there is going to be employment. But we are coming towards a point where we are easing in certain countries. But yeah, it would be nice to get some insight from my next guest, who is Abby El-Asmar. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from Canada.
Thank you so much for having me. It's honestly a pleasure to be on the show. I've seen your last few episodes, and it's an honor to also be a guest and participate. So I'm excited.
No, I'm really truly, honored myself, to be fair. I know I've been watching you as well as to what you do, and you've, for a young entrepreneur, you've actually achieved quite a lot. So before we start, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, a big question, but I'll try to give you a concise answer as much as possible. So just to kind of recap my journey, I started myself just a kid in college who wanted to get into business. I wasn't really passionate about anything that they offered inside of school. So I'm like, you know what? Let me not waste my time here. Let me just go ahead and go all in into this business journey. And I actually dropped out of college, worked full time so I could just kind of sustain myself, and tried starting a bunch of businesses. Of course, at first, a lot of them failed. Just like with any other business journey, you're not going to get it right the first time. But eventually, I was able to start a consulting business as a marketer. So I was a marketing consultant, and I still am to this day for other local businesses. We help them get clients and grow their business. And eventually, right now, I'm able to also help other entrepreneurs, specifically Muslim entrepreneurs in my case, because that's who I relate to the most, to start their own online businesses as well. And whether they want to be consultants or coaches or offer some type of service, we'll help them do that and coach them through every step. So that's kind of like a really big nutshell of my journey and how I got here.
That's amazing because I mean, it's really, I think it's relevant right now because a lot of us do feel like yourself, whether or not, you are young, sort of like not sure what you want to do or feel that the normal educational system does not actually help you. And I think
Mhm.
just listening to the statistics in Britain over here, a lot of young students, especially coming out of college, we call college is your high school and university is your
Yeah,
college. But anyway,
right.
our sort of system, they're coming out of education at the higher level. Being unemployed. So I think that, sometimes having someone like yourself to give us some realistic, sort of like insight, because you've obviously started this journey way before the lockdown. And obviously, it could be still crucial for us to sort of, tap into right now. I mean, it's really interesting that you say that, you've obviously had many failures, and a lot of us get worried about that and we're scared about these failures, and that's what holds us back. But from listening to you, it seems like it was just part of your journey. And as you coach and as you help other people, stand up into they sort of like format of what they want to decide to do, whether or not they have an idea or they actually have an idea, I just want to find out, what would be the basic sort of like awareness that you would give someone if they, especially in this current situation, not sure what they want to do and where they want to head to. Like, what is the current sort of vibe out there? I know everyone's doing things online, but do you not think that people will be saying, well, the market's really saturated? I mean, I'm going to give you my opinion on that, but regardless, I want to hear your point of view, because everyone's like,
Awesome.
can't do online everything, because even that's not going to work. So what's your view on that?
Definitely. Okay, so there's a lot of different angles that I'd love to tackle this question. So with your permission, I'll take a bit more
Well,
time
do
to
what
answer
enough
this.
time, don't worry.
Awesome, awesome. So the first thing that you mentioned, and that I just want to touch on just a little bit, is how the failures were a part of the journey. And I just want to touch on that. And it's such an important point for anyone that is starting a business, for anyone that's even maybe just starting something new in life. You're not going to be an expert the first day. A great example of this is just today, a few hours ago, I was filming a YouTube video. It's still something that I'm getting used to, and I'm not really great at it. And I can definitely look at the video now while I'm editing and see where I went wrong and what I could do better. But it's also part of the journey. I mean, if I looked at that and I said, well, I'm not good, so let me just not do videos. Let me not do this thing right now. That's really taking something and giving up, really. But the truth is, if you keep going,
Yeah.
then it's not a failure anymore, then it's just a learning experience. So it only becomes a failure when you actually take it just like it is right now and accept it and say, okay, I'm going to give up and I'm not going to move forward with this anymore. Then yeah, unfortunately that becomes a failure. But if you keep going, then it's not a failure. It's just a learning experience. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on that, because a lot of people will start something new, or even as we're mentioning right now, in terms of this whole COVID situation, they might be in a position where they need to pivot a little bit, whether it's in their business, in their jobs, in their careers, and they're most likely going to do something that they're not used to, or they might be in a new territory, in an open field. And naturally, when you're in that situation, the first thing you're going to do is probably not going to be great. I'm just going to be realistic. A lot of gurus out there, a lot of people will tell you, hey, listen, I can help you start a business in 2 weeks and you're going to be profitable and you're going to have an income and quit your job. The truth is, not many people actually are able to do that. And it's not realistic to expect someone to be able to do that. Whatever it is that you're going to do, it's going to be a journey. There will be failures, but if you keep going, it's not a failure, it's a learning experience. So I just wanted to really touch on that slightly. Do you have any comments before I keep going, or yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's really important, because like you said, I agree with you. A lot of us, we sort of tend to not continue because we think that failure is something that holds us back. But actually, you know, looking back, it's, you know, it's like doing anything in life. You have to have that repetition and consistency in order to continue to get to that level. But if you're going to fail at the first hurdle, then you obviously, you know, that in itself is something where you cannot move forward in life. It's all about moving forward regardless of your journey. So yeah, I totally agree with you, and it is really important. Yeah, you are going to move on with your question, so I'll let you continue.
Yeah, go ahead. No worries. I appreciate that. So to kind of also answer now your direct question is about, like, what can people do right now if they're in a situation where they might feel like they need to pivot? Or you also mentioned the fact that a lot of people are pushing online. Is an online business really the best solution? The truth is this, and I might be biased because, again, a lot of my work is online, but the reality is, especially with the current situation, we are now seeing that all businesses, whether they were brick and mortar or they were online before, they are needing to transition their services to be more online. So even if, let's say, you were an employee of a company, most likely right now you are working from home. It means they give you a laptop, you are now working from home, you're doing your meetings through Skype, through Zoom, through these different applications. Let's say you were a restaurant or a bakery, you now are realizing, well, if you were offering online deliveries before, then you probably need to get that done right now so that you can stay profitable and continue running your business. So I feel like with the current situation, it's just really showing people that this is really the next stage in consumer behavior, and how consumers want to buy products and how they want to have accessibility to different businesses and services. They want to do it from the comfort of their own home, whether it's watching TV, Netflix. People don't go out and rent DVDs anymore. You just pop on Netflix and you watch something right instantly. Whether it's ordering food online. I mean, that's why Uber Eats, which is a company that started 3 years ago, is now huge. It's $1 billion, even I think $1 billion company, just because people are like, wow, I can now order from all these restaurants that didn't deliver. So it wasn't needed. There was a demand for it, and Uber went and filled that demand. So I do believe that, look, not everything is going to be online. People still want to go to a bakery and buy a cake or buy some bread, and they want to go to a restaurant and have that in-person experience. But you are really shooting yourself in the foot if you aren't offering something online, if you aren't at least maybe offering the option to send your food straight to your customer's door, or whether, let's say, you're a service business, maybe offer your service through Zoom, through Skype, some form of kind of video conferencing, just like we're doing right now. So there has to be some availability for an online service in your business. If you're purely physical, as we can see right now in COVID, this transition and what this is showing us is that these businesses that just rely purely on physical, unfortunately, if they don't keep up with current trends, they do risk going out of business. And I think that's an unfortunate reality. And COVID just kind of put that on steroids. And it's like, all right, now everyone is forced to adapt to this new reality that we're living in.
No, that's so true. I mean, I don't know if you know, but here in the UK, before all of this started, there was a huge company called Thomas Cook as well, and they were a travel agent, and they relied mainly on their business where customers had to come in to speak to their agencies, and they did not move online. And unfortunately, they did go into administration, and they had to close down a lot of their, well, everything basically, and lost that, hundred, so many years of that sort of way of being, where people knew that sort of like brand, and people knew that this is where they were going to book their holidays and have that. But yeah, again, even before this kind of lockdown, I think we were moving towards something where our behaviors were changing. I
Yeah.
think, like you said, it's probably going to look at things now where you're not going to take away completely what you've had before, but look at it as an extension. So we got
Mhm.
to look at ideas differently with regards to how we actually view our careers. But on point on career, do you think that certain services and products will also be maybe more useful or not, or even certain career paths? And I think that's another one that people will be thinking more. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do whatever I want now. And I'm like, well, if I'm talking to any student, I'm like, no, you got to think differently about what you're going to even choose in your career path, and you got to take it serious, because in a time like this, there's only certain businesses that are actually even working. What is your thoughts on that?
100%. You bring up such a great point, Fahima. And it's that right now, even in terms of the industry and jobs and the availability for manpower, or the demand in the workplace, it's also shifting. And it's shifting towards different skill sets and people with a different kind of expertise. And that expertise is mainly going to be engineers or software engineers, people who can really program things or work to build online systems, or even something that's at least closely related. Now, of course, I'm not telling you that if you're a construction worker or if you're doing some manual labor that you're going to go out of business. Most likely not, because again, we still need to build, we still need to renovate. People still need that manual labor aspect, but there are some jobs that will most likely be replaced by automation and machines. And that's what we're seeing. And that's why all of these engineers, these software and these data engineers, and these people that can program and that can create these AI systems will come into these companies and will be like, okay, listen, instead of hiring 12 employees to do this recurring task, I just created a new program for you that will do it for you automatically, right? And so we have to think about that and consider it when it comes to choosing our career path. And just a quick point on what I said earlier, which is I dropped out of college to start a business. If you're in college or university, as you mentioned on your end, and you're not really sure what you want to do, like you're like, okay, there's a lot of options here, but there's nothing that I'm truly passionate about, there's nothing that truly interests me, then I do encourage you to look at maybe starting your own business or taking education that might not be within the university sphere, right?
Yeah.
So when I first got started, I took online courses when it comes to consulting and marketing, and that's how I was able to start my marketing agency. I learned a skill set that wasn't necessarily offered through the education system, but I learned it because it was offered through online courses. So I do encourage anyone that might be thinking, hey, I'm going through school, but I'm not passionate about this, and I don't know what kind of field I should go into, unless you're going into one of these really high demand fields when it comes to cloud engineering, AI, software, then I do recommend you look into online business, because there are courses out there outside of school, college, university, that you can get for a fraction of the cost, and they will help you start a business successfully.
It's really true what you're saying. I think it's really important that you highlight that, because we're not trying to encourage people to just, not continue with education, because it's not about not learning, because you did have to learn.
Mhm.
It's just that you didn't find the fact that maybe in your college or wherever it was that, you wanted to learn in that academic kind of way. And that's
Yeah.
one thing I always sort of say, is that learning is always continuous. It's just that you got to find your passion, or if you have an idea, you got to obviously learn about it so that you become that master of it, or at least, be an expert to a certain extent, or have some sort of in-depth knowledge, because it is all about substance and being credible in whatever that you do. Because just like with anything in life, you want to go for somebody who has actually got some sort of expertise, or has got some sort of experience, or has done his homework, or whichever
Mhm.
way you look at it. Because again, there's so many of us that are doing similar things right now, and so in order to make yourself stand out, these sort of like learning online courses or education in any form is really vital. And that's what I really I didn't know that about you, but you've actually just mentioned that, which is really important, because even though you sort of like didn't complete your university or college, you still continue to learn. And that's what
Every
people
day.
fail to think. They always think that, oh, I'm going to drop out. I'm just going to start a business and that's how it works.
Mhm.
Then you realize, well, actually, I need experience and I need some sort of form of a format or some sort of like, foundation. And that's what you've actually just highlighted. And people need to get that in, especially a lot of youngsters right now, just because they don't like something or they don't know. It's not about even that they don't like it. They really just don't know. And again, like you said, it's a journey. And just like with failure, even if you don't like something, you can still continue because you don't know how that's going to lead you up to the next level, or the next pocket that might open for you, the next door that you might see, because you've just opened up that awakening on a certain learning. And for me, I don't look at education as just passing exams. It's really about opening up your insight and awareness, and there's no waste of time whichever way you look at it. Even if you just have a good time in college, yeah, it's an
True.
experience and it's something that you're going to remember and you're going to treasure with yourself. But now, as we're talking about careers, a lot of us are obviously confused. Do you think that we need to have a certain mind step or certain steps that we could take? Like, I know you coach a lot of individuals in various areas coming from different stages. Could you kind of like talk me through, if someone was to come to yourself, for a private consultation, not having a clue or having just a small idea, like, what are the sort of like steps and stages or the processes that they need to take?
That's a really good question. So before I dive straight into it, there's just one point I want to highlight from what you said, and it's the fact that you have to constantly continue learning. And I just also want to bounce back on that and tell you that I completely agree. And it was an integral part of my journey, and it still is to this day, and it will never stop being a part of the journey. And even to this day, I'm still taking courses, I'm learning from different materials, and I'm always trying to better myself, because the easiest way to get to a certain goal or to achieve something, to achieve your vision that you have, is to learn from someone else that has already achieved it, that's already been there, that's already gotten that goal that you're trying to get. And just also a small word of warning, because I know for a lot of people, they might think, well, there are a million courses out there and every single person offers some sort of course. Well, that's most likely true. And I'll give you a very simple way to know which courses you should probably go for and which ones you should avoid. And it's, look at the person that's offering the course. Did they achieve what they're trying to help you achieve? If they did, then that's a pretty surefire way of making sure that they have a great course and they'll help you get there as well. But if someone's trying to sell you on building, let's say, a marketing agency, but they have a bakery and they've never built a marketing agency before, chances are that course is not going to be so great, right? If someone's trying to teach you how to get to 6 or 7 figures in your business and they haven't gone to 6 or 7 figures in their business, chances are that course is not going to be great. So just a quick surefire way, guys, to make sure that you avoid also getting scammed, because there are some scams out there. Just look at the person offering the course. Did they achieve the goal that they're trying to help you achieve? If they did, then probably you'll be able to get there as well. And to kind of answer the question that you just asked us, Fahima, about if someone right now is in their career, is in a position where they feel like they need to start something else or they need a different solution because of the current situation, what can they do? It really depends, because I'll tell you this, as you mentioned about mindset and entrepreneurship, it's true that not every single person is cut out to be an entrepreneur. That is a reality. That is reality. Entrepreneurship is glamorized right now. It's very popular. A lot of people out there promote it, and it is fun. Like, I mean, I won't lie. It is awesome to be able to work from my home right now and do this with you live, and I don't have to ask my boss for some time off. But the amount of work and time and commitment that it took me to get here is probably not something that a lot of people would be willing to go through. And even in terms of my students and people that I coach and that I work with, it's a constant battle of trying to get that fire lit inside of them, right? So that they can keep on tackling their goals day in, day out. And that's the importance of being able to work with me. And I think really the biggest contribution that I give to them is the ability to always make sure that I hold them accountable and I motivate them and I drive them forward. More than the strategies, more than the how-to, is just making sure that they always have the right mindset and they're motivated to keep pushing forward, because it is tough. It is not easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of dedication. So if you are thinking of starting a business, if you are thinking of going into this entrepreneurship world, just know that it is going to take your 110%, but the reward is 100% worth it. It is worth it when you do get there, and you will get there if you just keep on working and if you are committed. Is there any comments before I keep going? Because I don't like
Oh,
to
carry
talk
on.
for too long. Go for
Carry
it.
on. That's fine.
Awesome. So in terms of options, because we were talking about that as well, options and what people can do in this situation. So again, that depends on where you are. So if you're still working at your job and you have a bit more time now because you're in quarantine, then I do suggest maybe picking up an extra course online from something that interests you. Again, learning is a never-ending journey. And even if you don't end up applying what you learn, at least you now have more insight into a certain industry or into a certain topic. So let's say, for example, you still work at your job, but you have a bit more free time because you work from home now, and you're interested in maybe coaching, in consulting, or in marketing, or in web design, or something that you could possibly use in the future as a skill set to build a business out of. Well, then I encourage you definitely to go and take some time to learn that thing, to maybe take a course, to maybe watch some YouTube videos for free if you can't afford a course right now, and just learn. And that's how I got started. I just kept learning from all different sources. And because I learned how to market for businesses, I was able to then take that skill and build a business out of it. I was able to sell that skill to others and help them grow their business. So if something interests you, if something piques your curiosity, then I definitely encourage you to, instead of using that free time to go on Netflix or, to maybe watch the news 24/7 and just hear the same thing over and over, that we are in a crisis. Yes, it's true. But what can you do proactively to maybe set yourself up for success in the future? And that's maybe learn a new skill, learn something that could benefit you, but also maybe build a business and that you can use as a form of service. You can sell it to others. You can actually make an income out of it. And if you don't have a job anymore, then 100% you should be doing that. You should definitely look at your options. Not only should you also be applying if you can, or, update your resume, do what you need to do, but for the rest of that time, go ahead and learn these skills that interest you, learn these skills that you could possibly use to build a business out of and work with others and make an income.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you said what you said, especially about, a lot of us, might not find that we have the investment to actually put ourselves out there to, pay for a course. But you're absolutely right. There's so much out there on YouTube that's available. And obviously, mirroring somebody that actually has already done it. So you pick on a role model and you start listening to them, and you actually come across that. And there's so many talks out there. I myself, I did plenty of courses. I did invest in myself financially a lot, but at the same time, as I'm continuing now, I don't have time. As much as I want to do more courses, I don't actually have the time for it. It's not even the finance. So what I do is I listen to an audiobook every day, or I listen to a talk or something every day. And as much as you want to watch Netflix, you can do that, and there's plenty of time in the day. For me, it's about balance. A lot of people get scared thinking that you got to work a lot. I work smartly and I get everything done, and I still have time for fun, by the way. So if anyone knows me, they'll know that.
That's awesome.
But the other thing is, if someone came to you, I'm interested in what your thoughts are on this. If someone came to you with sort of an idea that you think that was a bad idea, or a bad product, or a bad service, or something that's just really not going to work, how would you go around that? Because obviously with coaching, we're not actually giving advice, but there is amount of brainstorming in there. There's amount of, sort of critical thinking and analysis within that. So, because a lot of us might be passionate about something, but we also want to make sure that it works. And we don't want people to just go out there with some some idea that, they had from childhood, and not everything is going to, come out successful. And everything is a risk and a chance, as we know in business, regardless. But if something does stand out, how would you approach that?
That's a really, really good question. And it's actually one of the things I teach in my coaching program. And it's honestly a lot simpler than you think. You might think it's a complicated answer. There's some sort of secret. The answer is super simple, guys. It's, if you have an idea, if you have some sort of vision of a business you want to build, or some product maybe that you want to create, a really surefire way to know if that product is going to work, if that service is going to work, if that idea is going to be profitable, is just go and do some research and see if someone else is doing it. If someone else is doing it successfully and they're making money, then chances are you can also do it successfully and make money out of it too. Of course, while adding your own unique touch to it. Now, if you look online for a service, let's say, I can think of one right now that wouldn't work, but let's say you look for some sort of really niche service and you're like, okay, I have this idea. I want to offer workouts for 2-year-olds, and you want to see if that's going to work. And you go online, you Google, okay, workout personal trainer for 2-year-olds. There probably is one. I could be wrong, but if you don't find anything, chances are that's probably not in demand, okay? Or that's probably not something that people are actively searching and looking for. So a really easy way to know, do I have a good idea? Do I have a service or a business that could work, that could be profitable, is just do the market research, look online, search on Google, search on YouTube, search on Facebook. Is there anyone else successfully doing it? If there is, then it's really a surefire sign that you will be able to also do it successfully and be profitable. And the bonus is that you get to study that person or that business, you get to see what they're doing right, and maybe also what they're doing wrong, so that when you're creating your own version of that, you can avoid the wrong, you can take the right, and then you can add your own spice to it. And a good resource for that as well, I just want to add, is Google Trends. If you guys go on googletrends.com, you can search up keywords and see how often they were typed by other people. So let's say, for example, if you Google personal training for pregnant women, and you see that that's something that's researched a lot, then you can see, okay, that's maybe something that's in demand. It's a very unique service. It's a very niche offering, and it's something that you could possibly offer. Then you see a lot of people are searching for it. Cool. That's a good idea. Let me go ahead and see what other personal trainers are doing. How can I model that? How can I take what's good and remove the bad? So just an easy way. Look at if someone else is doing it, if they're doing it well, and if they're making money, chances are you can make money too. If no one in the world is doing it, I have to say, then proceed with caution. Proceed with caution, because is it really in demand, and no one thought of it? Or is it because maybe it's not in demand? And that's where you kind of really need to proceed with caution.
It's very interesting that you say that, because a lot of people think they're going to come up with a new idea in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're trying to say is like I asked you about before, about, people worrying about the market being oversaturated with certain things. So you're trying to say is that even because there is a good idea, there is a market out there and there's a huge demand, you need to jump on it basically and sort of
Mm-hmm.
make it your own if you can, or just an extension of it, because not everyone can reach everyone, for example. So
Exactly.
what you're saying is that, which is really, really interesting. A lot of people feel that, it's too much out there, too much of people out there doing things. But as we know, there's so many YouTubers out there, there's so many influencers out there, but people still watch them. People still get those kind of like followers and this, that, and the other. I mean, to be honest, so it's a different viewpoint to what people originally think. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really interesting advice from a business perspective, for people that don't know much about business, to think that, if there's something out there that is already been that, I can still do it, even if it's the same exact thing, and I can just put my twist to it, even if you're not changing the product, or if you do find a flaw in the product to actually improve on that product. The other thing is, not everyone is going to be business minded. A lot of us, coming out of our careers are not necessarily in business. They actually are working for a business, and they're not actually going to be coming to say, well, now I want to be a business, entrepreneur, or want to have my own product or service, because I'm happy with somebody else taking that responsibility. I don't want to be, taking on that role. Are there any options for people like that? They don't want to be creative and innovative. They want to just go and do that work, do that jobs, do whatever they used to be doing, but on an online space. Is that even possible?
Well, to really answer you honestly, it depends. Again, if you're someone that your work requires manual labor, like you're a plumber, you need to be there, you need to fix that drain, it's going to be tough to do it online. I mean, you can maybe create some sort of DIY YouTube channel and show people how to do it themselves and try to make an income off of YouTube views. However, of course, offering the service online, being able to actually go and fix people's plumbing online is not possible. Now, on the other hand, let's say you're a consultant, right? Let's say you're in the field where you're maybe some sort of software engineer, or maybe you're someone that does a lot of work on the computer. Then chances are you can probably do that work on the computer à distance, right? This is how we say it in French, or basically from home. And so really the straight answer to this is it depends. And the reason is your work physical? Is it manual? Does it require really your presence or not? If it doesn't, then find a way to do it online. If it does, then you can be creative and do something like a YouTube channel where you help others kind of DIY style, or you show people how to do what it is that you do, or find a new avenue to it to become an influencer in that space. Now, at the same time, some people, again, they might not even have that motivation. They might say, okay, I don't even want to go on YouTube. I don't even want to do social media. I got laid off and I need to find another job. And that's completely fair. And I'll tell you this, is that you mentioned if someone's not business minded. Well, the truth is that every single person in the world needs to be business minded. And I'll tell you why. It's because even if you are an employee, it just means that you are your own business, right? That you are your personal brand. And so how are you going to build that brand to be the most successful brand possible? How are you going to build your own business, which is yourself, to be the most successful person possible? So did you work in a place where you could maybe add on some new skills, some new qualifications? Could you go and seek out a new certification that might increase your value to prospective companies, that could potentially increase your skill set and potentially get you hired faster than someone else? There are other options out there. And the key is to not just tell yourself like, I'm not business minded. I was happy at my job and I'll just try to find a new one. Okay, sure, that's fair. But remember that you are your personal brand. Is there a way for you to improve that personal brand and build it up further? Can you increase your skill sets in that domain? Can you make sure that you're more in demand than the next guy when it comes to applying for that job? That's also an option.
That's true. I mean, as you were speaking and you actually, spoke about the idea I had. I mean, when you mentioned the manual labor, even if you're not going out there to do it, I mean, a lot of people are not allowing people in their homes, or if they are, it's very, very restricted. So you could actually give, YouTube ideas as to how to do your own DIY, but do it with, someone who is professional, who's done it before, talk them through it, giving them that consultation online and things like that. So yeah, it's about being creative and innovative. So there's always a way, because as you were speaking, I don't know nothing about that. So I'm thinking it would be great if someone was to show me online, and that could be something totally different, and we all can do that in everywhere. And what I do actually think we fail to sort of realize that actually the one thing good about social media and online is that it's a much further, wider scope and reach than you would in a normal business as well. So, when you're doing something, it can be quite huge if you were to sort of build that up, and there's no limits to it. Even a video, just a follower, from across the world. Like I'm talking to you right now. I'm in, in the UK, and you're in, Montreal. So, we've connected, even though we wouldn't normally have done that. So, I could sell you something, you could sell me something in that way. In that's how it works. And I think people need to be a little bit more open to it. If they're not into the internet, social media, and a lot of people are quite skeptical and have misconceptions of it. I just think everything can be used in a good or a bad way, depending on your intent and your motive. And if you got that right, you can make it work. And, seek some advice and help around you. There are people like, even Abby yourself, you can, contact him. I'm going to have all your details in the description box, obviously.
For sure.
And there are so many more places and things that you could go to and, see and do. And the reason why I really wanted you to come on board is because, it is quite testing, challenging times right now. And people are, it's okay to say that, you're living at home with your mom and dad and you just got to find a job. But when people have got bills to pay and, they've got families to feed and, they really are scarce with regards to what to do, you really have to step up, whether you're even feeling motivated or not. Sometimes you don't need that motivation. You just need that urgency and drive to say, well, this is just what I got to do. A lot of people feel we got to feel that motivation. I'm like, no, just do it. The rest will come. A lot of us feel we have to also get, I'm a warrior mindset, kind of person. So for me, I don't need to be all comfortable for me to be doing something. I will go through that rain, that terrain, or whatever it may be, that tsunami. You can hit me and I'll still go through it. And after that, I'll reap the rewards. But a lot of people, they want to have it all nice and cozy to begin with, a nice plan, make sure that it's all going to be, covering all the A to Z boxes. And I'm like, I don't even have a plan sometimes. I just go with it because I have a passion, I have a feel, I have a drive, and there's an urgency. I got to earn money. I got to pay bills. I got to do certain things. So I just got to do it and just keep trying, keep going. And that's how I work personally. But I know, like I said, I think a lot of us actually are quite comfortable because we do have it cozy. Because if there was an urgency, you wouldn't even think to even want to be motivated. That's your motivation, that right there and then, is that you need to feed yourself and your family, and that's it. Or you need to start living and you need to start doing something and you need to just get up and go. So, I mean, I don't know. I just have a different way of thinking, to be honest.
I completely agree with that, honestly. And the truth is that, look, there's a lot of ways to get motivated, but as you mentioned right now, fear is the greatest motivator, and that's the truth. And when I was first starting in business, again, I had just dropped out of school and I was working full time, and I had even quit my job so I could just fully spend all hours of my day learning this whole business thing and how I could start my own business. And for about the first 5 months, I didn't make a single dollar, guys. So a lot of people think you're going to make income fast. A lot of people promote that you're going to make money fast. That's not the reality of things. It takes so much work and it takes so much effort before you finally get to that breaking point where you start making money. And for those first 5 months, it was hard. Like it was tough. It was tough on my mindset. The more time passed by where I wasn't making money, the harder it became to stay positive. But despite that, I had to keep going. I had no choice, positive or not, because I had that fear. Like if I don't keep going, I'm going to eventually run out of savings. I'm going to stop being able to pay my bills. There is no choice. And I think it's a quote from Tony Robbins who says, if you're going to take the island, burn the boats. So what that means is if you're navigating to an island, and you want to take it over, you're going to burn those boats so that you can go back to where you came from. And that's really the fire that you have to approach business with. Now you even have to approach your life with. It's, look, there's no going back. It's plan A or plan A. That's it. So just go at it and go all in. So I completely agree with your mindset and with your view of this.
Yeah,
So.
it's true. I mean, a lot of even athletes, they're like, it took me, about 5-6 years to become an overnight success. Literally, that's what it's about. It's you continuously training and working really hard. And, people think you've done it overnight, but they don't realize. And I just want to also make awareness that a lot of young people out there, because they see, a lot of these reality stars or whatever it is that come through, just overnight. No, it takes work. And if you go behind the scenes, that's why there's only one or two that succeed and actually make it, without, killing themselves and feeling depressed because it's too quick and they're not ready for it. But at the same time, it's really sad that, we think that we can do things overnight. It is quite powerful to have success. That's why we get people that are still not happy and they have depression and, things like that, even with that success, because they're not ready for it and they don't know what to do with it. So it's got to come from meaning and purpose. You've got to have your identity on point and, really set your core foundations and why you're doing things. Your why is really important. You got to listen to a lot of, people alongside, these, self-development specialists and gurus out there, because they do give you a lot of insight about, how to be that person, because you don't want to just make it as well. And in the end, you end up being really depressed, sad, or even to some really detrimental, attempts where people cannot handle that kind of like fortune, fame, or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I just feel like, like you said, it takes a lot of hard work, and you've just got to really keep continuing and going. Like, how long have you been doing this to get to where you are, like since you dropped out at college?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've officially went into this full-time, I would say now close to 3 years ago. So almost 3 years ago is when I started. So I'm still fairly recent, but thankfully I was still able to get to a point in my business where I am now comfortably making a living out of it. I'm helping and coaching others to do the same. And I don't want to brag, so I won't give any income
No, I'm not the
statements.
kind of person that says don't brag. I want that. We need to celebrate success.
Yeah,
At the
definitely.
end of the day, we need to celebrate it.
So one cool thing is that once I did break through that and I made my first dollar, from making that first dollar in business to getting to a 6-figure income level, it took me only about 2 to 3 months. So that's just, and that brings me to a point that I want to talk about, which is in business, a lot of people think that growth is linear. So as in you're going to do work today and then you're going to reap the reward today, and then you're going to do work tomorrow and you'll reap the reward. And it's kind of like that gradual increase. But the truth is in business, it's more like an exponential graph. Okay. Growth is exponential. So at first you're going to do a lot of things and it's not going to make a difference in your business or in your life. It's just not, you're not going to see any rewards, anything happening, but eventually you're going to hit that breaking point and it's going to slowly turn. And then eventually it's going to keep shooting and shooting further up until it skyrockets. And that's really usually what happens in business and in life. And so once I did break through, I was able to get to that 6-figure income level fairly quickly and live comfortably off of my business. But that first 5 months where I was making a dollar was the hardest. So that's just to kind of inspire people and let them know, listen, you're not going to make money for a while. You're not going to succeed for a while. But once you do hit that breaking point, all of that effort that you did, all of that work that you put in is going to compound. It's going to explode. It's just kind of like snowball effect, essentially.
So you've sort of taken, quite 5 months is actually quite a short amount of time, to be fair. What are your sort of like tips and hints and your secret?
That's it. Well, it definitely didn't feel short for me going through it. I'll tell you that. But I mean, yeah, definitely some people take years and I completely acknowledge that. I'll tell you this, the reason why it took me only 5 months, but I don't want to say only because again, for me, it felt like forever. And I expected to make money from day one, which I guess, because that's the illusion you get when you look into these things. When I was first looking into entrepreneurship and business, everything online, every single guru ever tells you it's super easy. because they, want to make sure that you work with them. But the truth is it's not. So I fell for that. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be easy. I'll make sure I'll get a few clients and it'll work out. It took me a longer time than I thought. So there was definitely some disillusionment there. But then I would say my biggest reason for success, or is what you're asking, but the biggest reason behind why I was able to break through and succeed for me was the amount of action that I was taking every single day, regardless of whether I was seeing a result or not. See, a lot of people are going to put in a bit of work and then they'll put it out there to the world and they're going to hear crickets. And it's normal. You're starting off, you don't have an audience, no one knows about you, you don't have any clients, you can't get any referrals. You're not going to make much noise. But then they see that, they see the reaction, and then they kind of get scared a little bit. So like, you know what, let me do a bit less of that. And then they'll tone down their activities, or whatever it is that they were working on. I just made sure that I had a set number of tasks that I was doing every single day, regardless of the results. So the way I approached it myself is I wanted clients for my marketing agency. So every day I would wake up and I would spend about 2-3 hours on Facebook connecting with these local business owners across North America and sending messages being like, hey, I offer marketing services. Is this something you're looking for? Are you interested? And those kind of messages. And 95% didn't answer or said no. But then there was a small 5% that did say yes. And the reason why they eventually said yes is because while I was constantly doing that and building up my connections and connecting with these people, I was also fixing up my profile. I was making sure that I looked more professional online, that I was presentable, that I was putting out content that related to my expertise in regards to marketing, what I was doing. So you also have to build up your personal brand, right? And that takes time. But once you have that built out and once you have enough connections, then eventually that ball starts to roll. So even though I did not see any results for the first 5 months, it's all about knowing what actions you need to take and then taking these actions every single day. Of course, knowing what actions to take as well is part of that equation, because if you're doing something that's not going to get the result, no matter how long you do it, it's not going to get you that result. So focus on the things that actually make a difference in your business, which is probably connecting with potential clients and building up your personal brand. These are really usually the two biggest things you can work on.
And the reason why I'm smiling, because it just reminds me of my journey, which is absolutely very similar to yours. It's me reaching out and me putting myself out there. And, as much as maybe 1 or 2 people shout out my name and probably, recommended me, a lot of the work I had to do myself and I had to continue. And it's around about the same time like you for the last 3.5 years that I've started with nothing and just, simply, done my courses, did what I needed to do and, put myself out in platforms where, these were like, high profile people that would never even look at me normally, but because of the way, I presented myself and got better with it over time, that, and I had to have that self-belief and that confidence and that, that perseverance regardless, and keep fixing up no matter what, and just keep going. And now it's very simple, but you don't get to a point where it ends, because I'm still fixing up and I'm still growing and I'm still learning and developing. And that's what the real point that I want to make, that everybody needs to learn. There's no end to it. The only end is when you stop breathing. That's 100%. How I look at it. Honestly, you really got to just keep going. And no matter what age or stage or phase, there's always a learning, there's always a growth, and there's a development. And I think that's what keeps us excited, and that's your motivation. Before we end and before we come to the end of the show, you still have enough time, but obviously I don't want to talk forever, because I'd keep you here for much longer than you wish.
No worries, it's been a pleasure so far.
No, so would there be any sort of takeaways that you would like to end with before the show finishes?
Sure. I'd like to end on just one comment on what you just said, and I think it's the best way to end. And it's a lesson that I learned recently, and it's that for anyone watching this, for anyone listening to this, you have to understand that life is in cycles. Life isn't linear. Life works in cycles. And so you might be going through a hard time right now. You maybe had something good going before and now you're in a struggle. You might actually be in a better position right now. Some people are, because their work is online and now it's going even better. So depending on where you are, the truth is life works in cycles. It's kind of like a circle, and you're usually somewhere on that circle. You're either up or you're down. And the journey, as you mentioned, never ends. Learning never ends. Growth never ends. Building up your personal brand never ends. All of these things never end. It's just, as you go through these cycles, the peak usually gets a little bit higher every time. Okay, so you reach a certain point in your business, you're doing well, but then you now have to learn something new to get to that next stage, and you're not going to be really good at it because it's new. And then you're going to kind of go down a little bit. You're going to slow down, but then you've now learned it. You reach a higher peak. Now you face a new challenge. That's a bit harder. You're going to struggle, but then you go a bit higher. And so it's kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's how life works. So keep that in mind, guys. If you're struggling now, if you're on a down, it just means you're on your way back up. You just have to figure it out and understand how can you position yourself for success to be on a higher peak than you were before. And that's my takeaway and what I'll leave you with today.
That's so inspiring, and I think it's really vital and really useful, and it's real, and everything you say, I second that. And it's nice to hear it coming from someone like yourself who's been on that journey personally and continuing to do so. And it's such an honor to have someone like you on the show and even participate and support the channel as well. I'm just a small entity doing my little bit, and hopefully I'll get to that peak eventually. But regardless, I'm enjoying myself, and I'm getting to meet like-minded person like yourself. So again, that's a bonus for me personally. And I just hope that whoever's watching do, reach out to Abby here. He has got an amazing, work ethic and lots of knowledge. And I've learned a lot myself by listening to you. And it kind of like reminded me a lot, taught me a little bit more. And I hope to, connect with you even further. And all your
Definitely.
details will be on the description box. Thank you so much, Abby, for your time all the way from Canada. I'm so pleased to have you join me on the show, and hopefully some more. And thank you, viewers, for your time again and your support. Please comment if you wish to do so, like and share. And if there's anything that you'd like, I would be happy to answer your questions, and so would Abby. In the meantime, stay safe and well, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.